Is it me? Am I introducing the Town End podcast tonight? His gets caught me off guard there completely, Bingo. Welcome to the Town End podcast. No, we can't say a disappointing night, but we'll bring in everybody else from Tallght. Chris is live coming in on the audio, and we'll bring in Pingu.
Sorry, Gally, I stitched you up.
We have a return of an absolute podcast legend tonight, the penalty king of Dundalk, Stephen McKevitt. Welcome back to the show.
Thanks, Andrew.
Look at him in all his glory.
I haven't shaved since the last time it was on either. By the looks of it.
Surely that was a return of the Mac moment, no?
It was. I tried to. Yeah, look.
I missed the card up. Bring me in again.
I think you put him on the spot.
Sorry about that. I needed to be cheered up, so Gally, I just put you on the spot.
Whatever floats everybody's boat and keeps everybody on the upward slope. What do we think, boys? Steph,
yeah, go on, Steph.
Well, look, no, I was. I promised the sister-in-law I'd do a few jobs in the house because she's a few men coming in the next few days. So I was listening to it rather than watching it. So I was listening to the boys on LMFM. So you probably had more of an insight than me getting to see it live. But look, I think they took a 2-goal lead, and we were sort of saying, this mightn't end well. But look, you can't fault them, the players, for effort, and kept going right till the final whistle. We thought there was going to be another fairy tale ending, and we had a couple of chances at the end. Just by the sounds, I don't know if Flano and Adrian was getting too excited by the chances. It's hard to tell just listening to it. But look, Jesus, we were a kick of a ball away from getting the extra time there, and you don't know what would have happened then. But we were on the front foot, it seemed. It's a little bit disappointing, but look, you can be super proud of the players, the effort and the performance they put in, especially the second half there. If you compare budgets and stuff like that, they're probably miles ahead, and they should be blowing us out of the water looking at even betting for it and stuff, Yeah,
I think even John Flanagan alluded to at the end there, we were just talking it off air, that I think that they sell someone to Norwich today, or POK against Bow selling someone to Norwich for 10 million. So it just goes to show what the Irish League, the League of Ireland teams that they go up against this season, the gulf. I don't think these lads are, top class. I think Anderlecht will turn them over in the next round, but it kind of brings home the level that they're actually competing at, and they can compete when they're on it. When they're at their best, they can compete with what the league conference has to offer. Just Chris is coming in. There's no video, but Chris, you're on audio there. You were at the match. What was the atmosphere like? What was the game like live?
It was really good. The atmosphere created behind the goal, with the Shed lads was brilliant. They were singing right the way throughout. I don't know if I'm annoyed, I'm disappointed. It's a plethora of emotions. I think we were the wit of Davy McMillan studs away from getting a draw there tonight, and I'm disappointed that we've gone out, but Jesus, it was a hell of an effort. We just have to start turning this European form into our domestic games, because there's a hell of a team in there, and we just need to somehow unlock those types of performances domestically, and we'll be fine, But really good game, really good atmosphere, really good effort. It's just a shame to be coming away empty-handed. That's about the only thing that I'm sad about, But yeah, can't falter, like Steph just said. You can't falter the effort. You can't falter, the way guys apply themselves. It's just to be so close, lads. To be so close, to go into extra time there and really give them a game, because I thought with 10 minutes to go, even 15 minutes to go, they looked like they'd rolled back into their own half. They weren't pressing us anymore. They were looking for the counter. There's something, lads, in Cameron Dummingham playing centre half. I tell you what, it was one high ball come in and I said, just head it. And he took it in his instep and played the ball out. And I was like, well, hang on a second. If Sonny had done that in the first half, we could have been in a better place.
Yeah, I think Domigan in particular for me was unbelievable. Look at it. A lot of players had a good game. I thought Sloggett played really well. I'm surprised Stanton went off as early as he did. Maybe he's carrying a little bit of a knock, but look, when you've got Duffy and Domigan, for me was top class tonight. I know, like, I was probably spitting feathers that Tchaikovsky's didn't start, but we just haven't seen a lot of Domigan, but I thought he was excellent tonight. Just as overall, he just seemed to have that little bit extra. He just seemed to want it a little bit more. I know they've made mistakes, but God, I think we're just saying off air with Pingu before he's come on. Like, if they had half of what they've done in the second half played in the first half, I know a bit of luck comes into it as well. The goal's never offside. Like Duffy's goal after 2.5, but it's never offside. And look, we don't know if that changes the game, but my God, like that second half was as good as I've seen in a long time. Not. Unbelievable. Like the goalkeeper, I've tweeted about it. The goalkeeper, everyone was like a magnet. Everything just seemed to go to him, just seemed to fall for him. With so many, not so many chances, but we had 3 or 4 really good chances in the second half. Like, even for instance, when your luck's out, it's out. Fats McElhenney, first half, his strike that the keeper saves. If he hits that again in a League of Ireland game, I guarantee he hits a defender and it goes into the back of the net. It's just when luck's not with you, it's not there. We'll just go. Didn't hear from Pingu. Yeah, Pingu, we'll hit you up there. Go on.
Yeah, so I noticed that back. I didn't know if I was allowed to talk or not. But no, I think I thought first half, I thought we started okay, and probably until the first goal went in, and then it just looked like we died a death, didn't it? And for the rest of the second half, we looked tired on our feet. Again, it was obviously a surprise. He made a couple of changes. Hubin started up top for Davy Mack. He had Dummigan come in, who I thought had a great game. Just agreeing with all of you there. Second half, then I suppose it was a little bit testy in the first 10-15 minutes, but I think after that we just kind of sprung to life, and it was like, even before the penalty came, it just had that feeling it's going to be one of these special nights, and we're going to surprise these, we're going to turn them over, and got the penalty, which was great, and then just bringing Davy Mack on, and I know I've been championing him, especially in the European games. Bringing Davy Mack just seemed to lighten us up top. As Chris said earlier, he kind of he's a pair of studs away from putting it in the back of the net and getting us through the extra time. And if that happens, it's a completely different game, But even just the positions he was getting in, he was shooting outside the box. He was putting, he was just testing their goalkeeper. And I seen at one point he took a shot. I think he was only just on the pitch, and it might have went wide, and Hubin's complaining that he's not playing it through to him in the box when there's 3 players around Hubin. But even just having the bravery to take on that shot, and Steph, you'll know this as a player, having the bravery, especially after your goal last night, but having the bravery to take on the shot there against a team where we weren't creating a lot of chances. It just builds that confidence, doesn't it? That he's getting in positions, whether it even be outside the box, inside the box, and just towards the end, I mean, the goalie, like we're talking about man of the match, you probably have to give it to the goalie. Like, if we weren't giving it to a Dundalk player, you'd be giving it to the goalkeeper, because he kept him in the game, and it just seemed every shot that was being took in those last 10-15 minutes just went straight into the keeper's hands, didn't they? He was everywhere the ball dropped, he was there. But I think overall it's, if we leave the part of the result to one side, that has to go down, particularly that second half, as one of our great European performances. I think just seeing that fight, like we've said all season, we haven't always seen that fight from Dundalk, and to be able to see that again is, you would hope it would build you with a little bit of confidence going back into the domestic game. Playing, obviously we played Derry this weekend, so it would build you hopefully with a little bit of confidence. But I'd say the players are wrecked after that. They've put in a massive shift tonight.
Yeah, I think if like we're talking about, probably even at halftime, I know I commented on the group we have that the worst thing that could happen here is that we just get absolutely hockeyed out of it in the second half. The boys get the heads, like someone like Andy Boyle, who's played through injuries, his head could have went there at halftime and just said, look, this isn't working. This is just not going to happen for us, And there could have been so many, kind of strategic changes to the game. And one thing you just can't fault them on is just the effort. Like, that's all you're looking for. You know, you can't do more than that tonight for a game of football. You know, if everybody plays at the best, that's all we're looking for. That's all the Dundalk fans have been looking for all season. You know, results can happen. We've seen with Longford this season. We had Stephen Maher on a couple of weeks ago, and results for Longford just haven't gone for them. And their effort's been excellent. And once the effort's there, you can't fault anyone, and you can't give out too much, I suppose. But you know, that game, that second half in particular, was just one of the best, probably the best 45 minutes of football. I can't even think back. I mean, we keep going on with Batley Borisov and Legia Warsaw a couple of years ago, and Split with, you know, Tallght and Curtis Bone were playing, but that would send you, like, the only thing we didn't do was score. You know, we done everything else. I would have loved to be there to be the 1,500 fans to watch. I know Chris was at it, and he'd be able to comment a bit more, but we can't fault him at all on that. It's just all it was missing was really a goal. We probably, what do you deserve? But I always give, but we definitely earned an equaliser to go into extra time, and it just wasn't to be. Between the keeper, the near chances, the McMillan chance, Fats in the first half. You know, like it's just one of those nights that it just didn't fall for us. On another night, it could have been 4 or 5-0. The heads might have dropped at half time. But we have to give them credit where credit's due. The second half was just unbelievable, and you can't really say much more about that. That's what Stephen Kenny built his squad on. That, you know, it was always effort, never giving in, playing to the whistle. Yeah, I just thought they were brilliant. And look, we can't have too many complaints. Vitesse are a cut above. Didn't look it, but they are a cut above technically when it comes to European leagues. And yeah, I just thought we were excellent in the second half.
Yeah, and just probably on that note, there's a lot of comments coming in for Man of the Match tonight, so make sure if you're watching in, get your comments in early. Look at there's probably 11, 12 players you could pick, isn't there, really, for Man of the Match. But we were talking off air again, and it's good that we have his biggest fan, the chairman of his fan club, on tonight. But the performance of Fats, particularly there when we started coming to life at the end, I mean, he's putting on a farewell tour, isn't he, for Dundalk fans at the minute, ever since the news broke that he's not going to be with us next season. He might not have been his best game tonight, but I mean, there was times tonight where he was dancing around players, and we said there was, in that last 5-10 minute spell, he danced around 3 or 4 players and played a ball from one side of the pitch all the way across to Djokovskis, and just another great performance from him, wasn't it?
Yeah, look, that's like, he's built for these games. Yeah, like, he's the best player in the league, in my opinion. Even his attitude since the news broke, and like, he does everything right. His performances have nearly lifted, as if he wants to really show the fans that, you know, his heart's still with Dundalk, and he's moving on to his hometown club, which I don't think you can really have too much arguments about. He's talked about family reasons and stuff, like, but just uncertainty around Dundalk next season is probably just in the back of his head, that he needs to look after his family. And just like, watching him is a joy, and he's going to be sorely missed. We're all gutted to see him leaving, and every time he steps onto a pitch, he's nearly the best player on the pitch now, the last couple of weeks especially. We've seen him doing it in the Emirates last season. Like, the level he was playing against is just, like, he's up to that level, in my opinion. And I think he was unfortunate a few moves away he got. He was injured and he was homesick when he was in Sunderland. And look, we've got great years out of him, and I don't think he owes us anything, really, to be honest. That he's a top class person as well. So look, he'll be sorely missed, but he's put in a serious amount of performances the last few weeks. It's going to be gutting to see him go now. It's sort of bittersweet at the minute. Yeah,
I think it's one of those to just sit back and enjoy the performances while we still have them, isn't it? Before we're shouting abuse at him from the sidelines next year. But yeah, I suppose, kind of moving towards the game, Chris, I know you're driving there, but if you can talk for a couple of minutes, how did it feel?
They're doing some roadworks on the M50. I'm going nowhere.
How
fire ahead? How many questions you got?
No worries. No, how did it feel being back in a stadium with a sizable crowd tonight? And do you think the crowd played a factor in lifting the team in the second half?
Look, in particular, as soon as the penalty was given, you could see a collective turn of heads towards the clock in the corner and went, how long's left? Oh, wait, 20 minutes. We could do this. And then this energy just came out of nowhere. And for the majority of the game, people were standing, sitting. The last 20 minutes, everyone just stood for the whole end of the match. And it was singing, clapping, pulling the players on from the sidelines. It was brilliant. Brilliant just to, because I've been at matches, obviously, with the streaming over the past while, and they can be quite dead. It's like a training exercise at times. I know we've got 100 people back in of late, but it's kind of very hard to create an atmosphere with 100 people, even 200 there in the last game. But definitely you could taste the atmosphere, you could feel the energy. The players were obviously, vibing off it as well. And I think, to be fair, I think the Vitesse players were feeling it too, because you could see them getting antsy. There was a lot of yellow cards at the end. Hubin had squared up with one of their centre backs as well. He seemed to have lost the head completely. But you don't get that when there's not a crowd, because it's easier for the players to keep their cool when there isn't a hostile atmosphere against them. So it definitely played a part tonight, I think, in the atmosphere, in the occasion, But just when Gally was saying there earlier on, we were very unlucky. When I look back on the first goal at half time, I just thought, this is like carbon copy of the first two goals against Pats. A bad deflection, it could go anywhere in the park. No, falls right to an opposition player. We've been banging out a look like that for the past few games when we concede goals. And unfortunately tonight again, it was one of them. We went behind, and it kind of knocked the stuff out of us. And I think that's where the second goal comes from, where not that we're feeling sorry for ourselves, but we're not as easy to pick up. And it's probably something to do with the start of the season we had. We kind of retreat back into ourselves a tad instead of being on the front foot. And, I just think the second goal knocked the stuffing out of us this evening. But the atmosphere, the rally and everything from even just before the penalty onwards, probably just a little bit more than halfway through that second half, it was great. It was great to be back, and now it was great to be part of it. I thought it was going to be there for another magical European night like Bate all over again, because I still have my ticket stub at home for it. That's how much I remember that night. I wouldn't give it away. So I was thinking, have I picked this one brilliantly again? And yeah, look, it's just sad that it wasn't to be, but it if we could get close to getting back to that sort of atmospheres and those crowds again, because I think we're on the road. Am I right in saying 500 for the Loud Derby?
I think I heard that somewhere. Yeah,
on the 20th.
Oh,
yeah.
I didn't know that.
So, like, if that is the case, that might be good. That'll finally create a bit of atmosphere, and what better to have the biggest capacity we've had in quite some time in Oriel Park, but for a Loud Derby.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
I think it's a hard luck story for drugs of late. So this could be ideal,
Yeah, I suppose if we're to take any real positive out of it tonight, it gives us a chance to focus on the domestic side of things that obviously over the last couple of weeks has taken a hit due to Europe. So it'll give us a chance to kind of bounce back, fingers crossed. But I suppose just for everybody on this one, and Chris, I'd be interested in a couple of minutes to get your thoughts from what the reaction was in the game. But obviously Vinny made a couple of changes tonight, a couple of big calls at the start of the game. Obviously Dummigan came in for Jokovskis and Hubin in place of McMillan. What did you think of them, Gally? What did you think of those changes before the game?
I was kind of running late. It was only about 10 minutes before the game that I actually seen the lineup. I was surprised. I actually thought McMillan was injured. That was the assumption I made. I didn't even know he was on the bench. I thought Jokovskis, obviously the call on Cameron Dummigan is correct because he had absolutely a standing game of football. I was surprised he didn't start Jokovskis because he has played probably majority of the season ahead of him or Cameron. But look, that's what Vinny's paid for. Vinny has to make these calls. I don't know what the reason was. If he just didn't fancy Djokovic up against their left winger. I'm not sure. I thought Leahy had a torrid time first half against his first name's a million. So rechristened that fella. I don't know where they got that name from. But that, like I thought Dunwigan coming in was probably that was as much of a shock for me as McMillan not playing for Hoban. But look, he obviously fancied something different. McMillan came off after an hour the last game. Fitness shouldn't be a massive problem. I know with the Pats game at the weekend, but on nights like that, look, it's easy to say now that we didn't get the extra time goal or we didn't win the game, that maybe McMillan should have started. Look, at hindsight, everybody's got 20/20 vision on hindsight, but for me, on a game like that, McMillan starts all the time, but that's just a personal preference. I think he's just, I think on those nights he's better. I think Hoban might have given him more of a problem coming off the bench. But then on the flip side of that, you gotta give Hoban minutes. If he's going to be playing regular, he's going to fight for that position. He's got to play. He's got to show what he's worth. Look, I thought both of them were excellent. For me, Dunwigan I thought he was outstanding tonight. That call alone, he would get you another 6 months or 6 weeks contract at Oriel Park as manager at this stage. But look, there's not too many shocks anymore because the team, because it's so it could be changed so much. There's not that many massively shocks. The biggest shock would generally come if the keeper was changed. But Hoban for McMillan's not a bad. It's a difficult decision to make, but it's not like you're taking in someone who's never played before and hasn't got experience and hasn't scored at the highest level that the Dundalk have played at. But look, I don't think it didn't. It's not that it didn't work. I just felt that for me personally, what I've seen over the last couple of months, Dave McMillan's record goal scorer in Europe, and he's chasing everybody for any kind of record goal at the minute. For me, he would have started, but look, that's what Vinny gets paid for. He's got to make these decisions and. Look, we're a kick of a ball away. We're an offside goal in the first 2 minutes away from extra time. So look, the call was probably correct. McMillan comes on. He's within a shoelace of getting an equaliser. Look, it's just one of those nights. It's just one of those nights that it just didn't fall for him.
Yeah, Steph, what do you think of those calls, even like pre-match?
Yeah,
what was your initial thought?
I was going into Costa meeting one of my mates this morning, and Flano spied me and sent me a message. So we were just messaging back and forth about the game and just seeing who'd start. And we actually talked about Hoban possibly starting. He was involved in the 2 goals last week. He set the ball back for the cross for Tchaikovskis to put it in for McElhenney, and then his through ball to send McElhenney through. He sort of caused problems by his movement and the positions he was taking up. Like, he was out wide, they didn't know whether to pick him up, he was dropping deep, which created the space for McElhenney to run in behind for the goal. So look, I can see the reasoning behind that. I don't think you can argue with it really. I know McMillan scored in Europe and stuff, but it was probably a toss of a coin between those two. Flano was saying that Tchaikovskis was starting. I thought Dunwigan was arguably one of our best players the tail end of last season. I know he was in left full. I thought he was excellent when he played last season, and they came in for a bit of stick from Dino for saying that. I think he was good in the cup final, and when he started the season off, and then when Finney came in, I don't know whether he doesn't fancy him or whatever, or just thinks the 2 boys are better than him. I think Dunwigan's a good player, and you can tell he's played at a higher level. Like, he's so comfortable on the ball when he's at it. When he was playing full back, a few times he seemed to get caught, but the boys are saying he was excellent tonight. Just listening in, he seemed like he was very comfortable in centre half, and look, that opens it up totally. Like, a position where we're a bit light, if he can step into that role, tremendous. So I don't know what happened. I think Flano was saying that Tchaikovskis was starting and Lee 2 full back. So look, something might have changed during the day, or Tchaikovskis might have felt unwell, or maybe he did come on. So maybe there was no injury worries there. Maybe Finney just had it in his head. Sometimes as a manager, you just go with things. You have a gut feeling for something, and you just go with it. And look, it's sort of worked out. I know we haven't won the game, but I think definitely Dunwigan proved proved that he was right to get started. So I don't think you can argue with the two of them, can you? Like maybe he was thinking, look, if we bring McMillan on for the last 20 minutes when they're starting to get tired, it might be a grandstand finish. And look, it nearly paid off as well. So studs away from equalising. So look, it just wasn't meant to be. But I think Dummigan was everyone. There's a lot of shouts for man the match for him. So
yeah. And I think look, you kind of hit the nail on the head there, Steph. Even though you were wrong, it was Leahy that was given out about at the start of the season in the President's Cup. But
look, there was that many you were given out about. It was hard to keep track of them all.
But Dummigan is probably one of the players. Dummigan and Brian Gartland were probably the two players that benefited the most from the change of manager last year when Filippo came in. And then Dummigan, unfortunately, seemed like the player to suffer since Finney's come back, where he's got a sniff maybe in cup games or like at the weekends after the European games. He's not really. That's the only time he's getting a bit of playing time, when there's rotation going on.
Maybe Finney sent him out on loan, did he?
He sent him to Larne, didn't he?
Yeah. Was it Larne or Coleraine or something?
Yeah, up north.
He was up north anyway. Maybe that's something he doesn't fancy him or so.
Yeah, but you would think, or this is probably a question, and Chris, I'll throw this one to you who was at the game, and with regards to the Hooban and McMillan and Dummigan, and I'd probably say Leahy's probably a player that coming off the back of tonight is probably going to be worrying about his position in the starting 11 a little bit. Didn't cover himself in glory tonight. Even towards the end when we were on top, his passes out to Duffy weren't great. He tried a little chip over the top, which was completely against what Duffy was looking for. But what I'm trying to ask is, do you think now Vinny's got a decision on his hands? Does he stick with maybe Dummigan and Drakowskis for Derry at the weekend? Does he look at Davy Mack, who's our form striker? I know you were saying Gally, that the Hooban needs minutes, but Davy Mack's the one that's scoring goals, and it's that's what your striker's job is to do. I think it would be very unfair to see Davy Mack relegated to the bench now that we're out of Europe, and just playing that impact role. Just because Hooban is back, So, Chris, I suppose being at the game, what was how do you feel that the reaction was to the performances of those that I've just mentioned?
Yeah, I think probably what you've all said about Hooban versus Davy Mack is there's probably not that much between the two. One was going to start, the other one was coming off the bench. I enjoyed actually just watching the two of them play together for a while. Because it actually seemed like for a while that we did know that we could swap it up and maybe have a plan B, but you can kind of see whether it's a 4-4-1-1 or a 4-4-2 formation that we had at the very end there. It seemed to work. I think there's a couple of questions that he has to answer. One is Leahy, Dummigan, Drakowskis. The other one then is, who's he going to play out right? Because when Dickie Kelly came in today, we suddenly had a lot of pace in the game, but he seems to love bringing in Kelly as an impact sub. But up to that point, I thought we were lost out wide right. Fats was good in the game, but not as influential as he could be. As soon as he was moved into the middle, all of a sudden he's pulling all the strings. So I think there's something to be said maybe for bringing him back in, and then it's a toss up between who do you play up front then. So for most of the season, I'd say it wasn't really a competition of positions. It was more who could fill in somewhere. So now, Vinny has a couple of decisions to make for the Derry match that I wouldn't like to be making those decisions, because he now needs a result domestically. After the Pats match, he's fallen behind slightly in where we could get in there. We had an opportunity to close the gap, which we didn't take. Now we can't lose ground to Derry over us, who are 2 points ahead, I think, are they?
I think so,
yeah. So, he's a couple of decisions to make. And on that, lads, I thought even Nadestead for the first goal, he's on the ground very early, and then he's kind of clambering around to make a challenge, loses it, the ball breaks to have a shot, it's deflected. When Dummigan played in a full position, I know it's not his preferred position, but he looked fairly comfortable at times tonight. That could be an option, and I don't know. Like Cleary's doing a lot of conditioning work now and trying to get himself back. So there could be minutes on the pitch potentially for him in the next few games, you would say. But until he's back fully fit, is Dummigan an option at centre back more often, and keeping Leahy and Jerkovskis out wide? I don't know.
I mean, Dummigan's been playing there. Lads. Dummigan's been playing centre half. Did he play centre half the weekend as well?
He
no.
Yeah. And then off the bench then.
I think just obviously you didn't get to see the game, Chris. At the very end of the match, or sorry, you didn't get to see it on telly. But at the very end of the match, who do you call it? Flano and Adrian went over that first goal again, and I think what happened when Flano was looking back at it, the ball actually bounced off the striker. It was a poor touch from the striker that kind of caught everybody off guard, and the striker was the quickest one to get to it, So while Sonny at the time looked all at sea for it, I think it was more just that touch just completely threw him off, and he went off balance for that. But yeah, look, it's interesting, and we'll be moving forward now to look ahead at the game next week, v Derry or this weekend. Before we do that, I kind of want to go back over the comments made by the gaffer. Seeing as we're after praising him tonight and praising the decisions that he made, I think it's important. Look, after the Pats game, during his interview, and there was a soundbite put out by LMFM when he was chatting with Adrian Taff. He pretty much for how long is he back now, Steph? He's back a month and a half, 6 weeks. And every interview he's done since, he's had a pop at social media, and he's had a pop at on Sunday about where you get your information from, and he mentioned podcasts and things like that. And I just thought it's a bit disingenuous of him. I understand, obviously, you lose a game 4-1, you're not happy with it, but to throw the blame on podcasts and on supporters, because that's what we are. We're supporters of Dundalk Football Club. We want Dundalk FC to do well. We want Finney Pear to do well. We want every player on the pitch to do well, because if they're doing well, the club's doing well. And I just thought it was a little bit disingenuous of him that following a defeat, that he was very, very quick. And in other instances this season, he's been very quick to throw blame elsewhere. I mean, he said there's a lot of negativity being put out about the club. Some of it true, some of it not true. But there's a lot of it is true. He's trying to say everything is rosy and there's players signed for contracts, and, he believes Peak Six are sticking around and things like that. But like I brought it up 2 weeks ago on the podcast, now is the time we need to know this, and especially now because everybody's saying about how good the performance was tonight and how well the team done, but there's going to come a lull after that. And I think something that'll hopefully, James Rogers said on the press box yesterday that Peak Six are potentially changing their mind and they are going to stick around now past the end of the season. If they are, we need to know that, and great, and we need to know what their intentions are. Are they going to scale back where we're operating off a minimal budget? I think if we look at how the club has been ran over the last 2 or 3 months, they are definitely scaling back in their finances and in financing the first team. But we need to know, are they still going to invest enough in having a team that's capable of getting Europe every year, having a team that wants to win league titles, win cups, because that's what we all want. That's what we come to expect. They said they were bringing us to the next level. And I don't think that's unfair of a podcast or unfair of people to tweet these questions and be asking them. And I think it was just very unfair of Vinny to have that pop at not just a podcast, but as I say, we're supporters and we're voicing and part of the platform. And Chris, you've said it so many times on this podcast. Part of what we do is we're voicing the concerns, or we're having discussions the supporters want to have. And it's just, I'd be interested in all your thoughts on it.
I'll go first. Yeah, look, it's not the first time he's mentioned social media. I think it's I think it's all well and good to come out and say, don't believe everything you hear on social media, blah blah blah. But look, and I'm a fan. It's no secret that I wanted Vinny for the job simply because of his experience in League of Ireland, the history he had at Dundalk, and blah blah blah. But you can't come out and you'd like to think he's just venting after a bad game. That's the hope, and that's lucky. He's just having maybe he's deflecting off the performance. I don't know. I don't think he is that type of man. I think if he says something, that's what he's thinking at the time. But to come out and have a go at people, don't listen to rumours on social media. It's not that long ago he was touting for the job on social media on an off the ball podcast. That's social media. So you can't have your cake and eat it. You can't give out to people, having a go. That's what social media is. That's people are entitled to their opinion within reason. It's social media. The emphasis on social. So it's open platform for everybody. And if people have an opinion about something, look, that's where you're going to get it. Unfortunately, when it comes to sport and professional sport, and when you're in the limelight of the dog, it just comes part and parcel. But Vinny knew this coming into the job. So he knows what's going on behind the scenes. This is not his first rodeo on the Pick Six. It's not like he's come in fresh. I'd like to think he was just venting, but without going back down the road of non-communication, some of the damning thing for me is that some of the rumours, he's saying that some true, some false. There's not many of them that have been false. So that's the problem. So, apart from maybe the Limerick thing, I think we were talking about, he mentioned that he called the Limerick staying overnight. He called that off, and that was his decision. Look, that's fine. Rumours are rumours. They're out there, and until somebody denies them, they're out there. They have to be denied. I just think I'd like to think he was just venting on the bad performance the other night, and maybe just kind of deflecting off. And to start talking on social media as often as he does is frightening. There's no need. That's what carries clubs. It's COVID. You can't go to a game, so social media is where it's at. That's just the way it is, unfortunately. Of everything, sport, doesn't matter. Just nightlife, pubs, restaurants. That's how they make their living now. Everything social media, and he just has going to have to put up with it. He knows. It was all well and good social media when they were doing European runs in 2016 and under Kenny, and you just can't have it every way. And look, I'm a fan of any player. I know that I don't sit on the fence about it, but there's certain things he can't control. There's no point in talking about it. We don't say anything that's going to get us in trouble on this podcast. We get plenty of rumours before we come on this show every week, but we don't mention them because some of the stuff you couldn't say. But rumours are rumours. They're out there. We're not saying that that's not out there already. We get information from other people.
As friend of the show, Maxie would say, we don't get rumours, we get facts. But we don't go posting them because it's not going to do anybody any good a lot of the time, But I think, again, one comment that he made that just kind of irked me a little bit was he said everything around the club lately is negative. And he came back after the game, the away game in Holland last week, and he said on Friday morning everything is negative. And I mean, a week before, and I'll hold my hands up. I wasn't thrilled to see Vinny coming back, and I don't think Steph. I think you were in a similar position to me. Neither of us were thrilled coming back. The week before against Levadia Tallinn, I held my hands up and I said I think he's done a great job since he came back, and I stand over that. And I don't say that the Pats decision or the Pats game, is going to change my mind just because we lose 4-1, because that happened. Back in the days when Fozzie had teams in Europe, we'd have a decent European result, and then we lost 4-0 to Rovers in between two European games. So it happened. But I just don't get that. To me, it stinks of deflecting. It's a poor performance. Just hold your hands up and move on. And, it's a lot easier to turn around and say, and again, Steph, I'm going to you as a former player in the league. When you have a big run of games or a big fixture congestion like that there, the easiest thing you can say as a manager, as a coach is, the boys are tired, and it was plain to see on Sunday that they were tired, and why he had to come out and blame social media again and blame podcasts and blame journalists. It doesn't make much sense to me.
Yeah, some of the things he said over the last few weeks, I think have really annoyed people, stuff he's saying. Thankfully he's not on social media and he doesn't see these things. But then later on in an interview, he's saying how it's all relayed back to him anyway. So that doesn't make any sense for a start. We we said it ourselves. We would have rather different people come in for the job, but you can't fault how the performance have been since he's come in. There has been a lift. Whether the European runs really spurred us on, league performances, we've got results. We sort of seen a bit of a win in the Pats game, but like you said, that can happen during the middle of a European run. So, but just going back onto his comments, like it seems like every time he comes on, he's angry, he's rattled about something, and he's saying everything's totally negative. Or people were singing the praises of Dundalk, and there was talk at the back, like stuff going on in the background. I've listened to you boys, and you haven't mentioned that in the last couple of weeks, but you're still constantly hearing story after story, and you're thinking surely not, but then you hear it's fact and it's truth. Like still no contract signed, but he like Finney said, he's got the backing of the board to sign 4 players from outside the league. So it remains to be seen whether that happens or not. But you'd like to be thinking we'd be holding on to the players we want to hold on first before to sign elsewhere, like the McElhenney situation. Chris Shields already gone, so it's just like he's coming out and saying one thing, and you can clearly see other things happening. It's just frustrating for fans. We're sort of in limbo now, where you don't know what the owners are going to do. He's saying he's dead set or staying next season. So if that is truth, like, why don't they just come out and announce that, look, this is what it is. Fans will be at ease, players will be at ease, and start getting contracts ordered for next season who they want to keep. Because look, if it gets to November, December, and we still don't have any players, then you're scrambling looking for what's left. Players. If someone comes in and offers you a contract for next season, a 2-year deal with St. Pat's, one of the better players at Dundalk, do you think they're going to go, well, look, Peak 6 might be here next year, we'll hang on and see what happens in November, December, or Pat's target somebody else?
Yeah.
I don't think that'll happen. And look, everyone's going to be free to be able to talk to people now that they're in their last 6 months. Am I right?
Yeah.
Saying that?
Yeah.
So look, it's the need to just be clear. You just be afraid of now that the European runs ended, there will be the drop off. Like, we're sort of at a crossroads now where they can sort of turn one way and take the performance of the European, like playing against top level players in Europe. You can use that as a real driving force to say, look, we're at a higher level than most of the teams in the league. We should be up near the top end, start stringing off a few wins, and the performances as well will come. Or you can look the other way and go, look, we're in trouble here. Looking over your shoulder, Waterford picking up points, Derry picking up points, Finn Harps won last week. They're not a million miles off us, even though we've games in hand. But if you don't translate them into points, the games in hand are useless. Yeah. So it's a real crossroads now where we're going to go. I just hope it's the first option where we use it to really spur us on, and people just focus on. I know it's probably tough, but people just focus on the football, and hopefully the people behind the scenes can even relate to the management team and the players. Look, we're going to be here next season, and start sorting out contracts.
Yeah, I think at this point, it's Vinny needs to concentrate on what's happening on the pitch, doesn't he? Like, he needs to forget about all the outside noise. Like, he needs to actually not talk about social media, and he needs to focus on the performance on the pitch. And if he's saying that there's 4 or 5 players potentially signed up for next year, which he said contracts were agreed and things like that with players for next year, he's discussing his contract for next year. And there's still a long way to go in the season, but you would say he's kind of managing his way into a contract for next season. If Peak 6 are staying and these 4 or 5 players are signed up for next year, Vinny's potentially signed up, when I say they need to let us know something, sign these players up, or announce that these players are signed for next year, because that just signals a bit of intent, and it'll give a little bit of a sigh of relief for our supporters. But he really needs to just concentrate on getting stuff right on the pitch, because even I seen a stat after Sunday I think Filippo, after the same amount of league games, was a point higher than Vinny has in the league right now. And that was including the European run as well, you know. So where he really needs to earn his bread and butter, or earn his keep, is getting us up that table, you know, and fighting and seeing if we can claw into that last European spot for next year, you know, because tonight showed we're still capable of it. But I don't know. I've been waiting all week nearly to talk about it since he made the comments, because it's just, to me, it's crazy, isn't it? Like, it's just, there was no need for it. It just seemed like a deflection tactic. And I heard someone, I don't know if it was on the press box yesterday, but I heard someone saying it was similar as what he done against Waterford, you know, when Sheridan was saying that it's only a pub league and stuff like that, you know. So after the game, after a heavy defeat, nobody's talking about the result. They're talking about the comments that were made after the result, and that happened again, you know. So just hopefully he learned his lesson from what everybody's been saying, and we can kind of draw a line on it, move on, and concentrate on the league form now, and concentrate hopefully on a good cup run.
Yeah, that's exactly it. Like, I just seen a mess there. Tiernan, I think, put up. It's a reality check. It's back to reality. This is now we're concentrating. We've got league form to worry about. And like, just on the peak six thing very quickly, it's nights like this that you want them to kind of. You'd hope a night like this would make the decision for them. You know, when you see that kind of second half performance, and you'd like to think they're watching it. We know, like, you know, people that have gone, Mike Tracy, things like that, they'd be watching the game tonight. I know they don't have any involvement in the minute, but you know, the peak six. They got to be watching games like that and thinking, right, what are we doing? What are we, you know, right, or sitting on this fence and we're going to knock it down and build another one that we can build a whole club with. It's nights, you know, nights like that will sort out two things for us tonight. Because we're out now, it's league football now, and it's got to be concentrated on by everybody. That's the go-to, as you say. That's the bread and butter now until October, November. But also, from Peak Six's point of view, they have to make a decision now and say, right, do we want this every season? Do we want that atmosphere every season? Do we want these games to be taking place at Oriel Park in 3 or 4 years' time? It's nights like this that has to sort that out. If they can't decide after an evening like that, if they can't decide after 45 minutes of football like that, then there's no hope for them. You know, they got to make a decision over the next couple of weeks on that. You know, like we talk every week about it, but it's only when you get fans. We've had 18 months of no fans pretty much. But nights like that, I mean, you think, by the sounds, if you listen to that game on the radio, you think Tallott was packed tonight. I think it was a sellout. And nights like that, you know, drive home what's needed at this club, and hopefully they can make a decision. Look, I would have no issue with them hanging on and staying on. I think it's in a way it's the best thing that can happen, provided it's run properly. I think it could be the best option for everybody. But somebody's got to kind of pull the plug on this and say, look, this is what we're doing. A, B, and C, and just crack on with it. It makes no sense to carry it out any longer. There's no financial gain in it for them or loss, because they're multi-millionaires. They're running, well, the hedge fund that backs them is. So I don't really understand it. Look, hopefully we'll hear something in the not so distant future. But nights like that, you want it sorted out one way or another. Yeah,
I would think, look at how relatively easy the club is. 850,000 in the bank is what's going to get them rethinking potentially where their stance is on the club. Before we kind of move off the topic, I'd just, Chris, get your input in it and what you thought of those comments. If you can hear us, Chris, you're on silent there. You're on mute.
The most sense he's talked all year.
He's just picking Shields as man of the match here.
He's trying to figure out, how can I get Chris Shields into man of the match competition.
No, I don't think we've got Chris. No, so look at we'll move on anyway. You there, Chris?
Tallott is stealing my 4G lad. So
that injection it was.
I get it.
I thought we had Danny O'Connell on there.
I get it back then.
So yeah, Chris, what was your thoughts on? Yeah, what was your thoughts on the comments made by the manager on Sunday? Oh, look, sorry, you can't hear you, can you?
Company man.
Yeah, we'll come back to you, Chris. You're going on us again, Paul. But anyway, look, we'll move on to our man of the match competition for tonight. Steph, seeing as you were listening to it with your ears, who's your picture man of the match?
as opposed to listening to it with your knees.
Yeah. I was listening to it with my eyes. Look, it's hard to pick a man in the match when you're listening to it, but Dummigan sounded great. Michael Duffy seemed like he had a good game as well. McElhenney and Patches, like the boys have said, some of the wee bursts of play and stuff like that. But look, I'm going to go off what the comments that's been thrown in and go with Dummigan. He's playing sort of out of position and he's done really well and justified getting a start. So I'll go Dummigan.
Perfect. Dummigan for you. Gally?
Yeah, Cameron Dummigan. I thought he was excellent. Duffy was brilliant, don't get me wrong. Fats and Bush the second half and he into the middle, like Chris was saying, but I thought Dummigan at the game of his life tonight. I thought he was excellent. Look at, like Chris was saying, a real option for us at centre half, and we needed it. A good ball playing football. I actually thought he could be a good CDM at the start of the season if we needed cover. I thought he was excellent tonight. I can't see past him. I thought he was brilliant. Yeah, for me, Cameron Dummigan all day.
Yeah, I'm going to pick Dummigan as well. I thought he was brilliant. I mean, as I say, I think he's had a good season up until he was dropped, and I think it was a little bit unfair. So he'd definitely be my pick for man of the match. Chris, are you there?
We'll give him a vote.
Chris is back.
Chris is back.
The further I get away from Drogheda, the better the signal. It's funny that's funny.
And modest about still.
Shieldsy man of the match, eh?
Chris Shields man of the match, was it?
You'd notice that Pingu and fucking Steph haven't been on the show in ages and they're still thinking that this joke is funny. Lads, we've had about 3 or 4 shows when he's wearing around, by the way. I'll have you know.
What? Are you serious? I was wondering why you weren't giving me the invites to it.
Is that a no for Shieldsy then?
Yeah, it's a no for Shieldsy, lads. Yeah, it's a no for Mickey Duffy and it's a no for Fats, all right?
First time this season.
Yeah.
Who's your pick, Chris, tonight for man of the match, Paul?
Right, I haven't heard anything that any of you said, but I'll assume that Dummigan is up there for everybody. I think a very astute performance tonight from him. So yeah, I'd go Dummigan. Am I anywhere in the box there? Do I get a pizza?
Pick up a slice on the way home, yeah.
Congratulations, Chris, you won. Cameron Dummigan is the Town End podcast man of the match for tonight, and the winner of the 15-inch pizza is Bez McGuinness. Only because he was saying Steph's was never a penalty.
Come back. He's not getting no pizza. He's getting a 12-inch, not a 15-inch now for that.
Yeah. So well done, Bez. You win a pizza, Paul. So you can reach out directly to Tony's. Can he, Steph?
Yeah, definitely.
Best independent takeaway burger in Ireland.
Yeah, absolutely.
Can you shout it out? Fair play.
Yeah, 100%. Congratulations to all at Tony's Pizzeria.
Good stuff, Tony's. Chris, you still there? Are you gone again? Chris still singing, is he?
Chris is in and out there, like.
Yeah. You there, Chris?
Can I order a pizza, please?
No, just when you went through Drogheda, Chris, we were talking about the comments Vinny made on Sunday. We were just looking to get your thoughts on it. Gone again. He won't answer it.
No, I'm here. Relax, lads. Jesus, lads. Don't give me 2 seconds here. Yeah, I think his comments were a bit strange because, you know, as a football club, they have to use social media channels. And then to go and attack and blast them is a bit strange. So I get his point to a certain extent, but at Dundalk Football Club, you kind of live in a cauldron of attention because the whole town focuses around football club, and that's why there's 2 newspapers, 2 radio stations, a couple of podcasts, and national media all interested. And when you think about the season we've had, and protests and things with the chairman and everything else, that's the hot seat at Dundalk Football Club. You gotta dance with that devil a little, and roll with it. I don't think you can. The days of, like, if you even take the wider thing of football, the days of a transfer going under the radar is very rare now because it's all over social media. There's different clubs play stuff off each other. You got to embrace it. and I think you can't attack it. And I think that's the strange thing about it. I think he should have. I think he could have said something like, "Yeah, look, there's a lot of noise about it, but I hope we use that noise to accentuate the positives with this club. The fact that we should be using the fact that there's so much noise around this club to push this together. Like that game tonight, lads, on a state broadcaster, it would have been the perfect setting for people who aren't overly interested in the League of Ireland to come and pick it up. You should have used that platform to voice about that a little bit more. And that's where it should be, but not attacking it on the press. He's driving that narrative now of pain. So I think he should be embracing it. He should be using it more so. Use those channels. He's got, like, he named 3 podcasts, 2 radio stations, local newspapers. Well, then embrace them. Give them more in that, and let's accentuate the positive that this club is doing more often. And I think that's why I find it strange that he attacks that.
Good point.
That's my opinion on it. Instead of going, there's a lot of noise and negativity around this club, say, well, I'm going to drown out that negativity with positivity. We're about to take on a team that's got a reputation of around 40 million of a budget, and we're going toe to toe with these guys. Why haven't we got a better stadium here at Oriel Park? Why haven't I've seen when we were on the crest of a wave, winning everything in front of us, and there was plenty of councillors and everything else up in Oriel Park. Let's use these platforms now to get these guys who've all signed up to be part of the redevelopment committee. Let's get this ball rolling now. Let's get a better platform for football in this country. That's what it should be used for.
No, Chris.
I'm glad my signal came back for that.
It's nice. We didn't get you there. Can you start that again? It's nights like this. It's nights like this that drive that home, drive how badly this is needed. And yeah, look, Chris has hit the nail on the head there. He's he probably won't be able to do the League of Ireland stream at Oriel Park, but listen, it'd be grand. Look, and it's nights like this to bring it home, whether you win or lose, and it's nights like that. We don't want to be going to Tallott with these nights forever. We've had this conversation probably 5 or 6 years ago when Kenny was there, but like Stephen Kenny, if they had built the stadium when he was there, they probably would have named a stand after him. It's so long ago now. It seems like it's a decade ago that all this happened, but it's such a pity. But look, we could talk about that all night. But Chris is right. It's exactly right what he's saying. You got to use these platforms. These are your best friends when it comes to local sport, and especially when you're on a European level or on a bad run where there's stuff going on behind the scenes and that working. You got to utilize it.
Yeah. I think, look, if we did win any kind of money that we were able to build a stand or build a new stadium, I'd definitely be calling one of the stands the McKevitt Summer League penalty shed. That's what I go for, because it's class. Even though I still think he was going for, I told him earlier on he was going for a point, I think, because it just went under the bar. Looked like a small goal too.
I thought the most podcasts in League of Ireland stand had a good ring to it.
We can name a stand after each podcast, in fairness.
To be fair,
we'll call the Carrick Road end the town end. Just the best of people said that joke went over. Steph said it wasn't as good as I thought it was. Anyway,
call me French.
Moving on to Sunday, we'll try wrap this up because we're just about the hour mark. So, moving on to Derry City this weekend. Fats man of the match. What's the predictions for that game? I'm going to go with Fats for man of the match in that game.
You can probably pick it now,
But yeah, what's score predictions for that one? Gally, we'll go to you first.
1-1.
1-1. Perfect.
1-1. On the fence there completely, boys.
Chris, if you've got good Wi-Fi or good coverage there, we'll ask you.
I was going to go for 1-1 too. So I'll go 2-2 now instead. I'll spice it up.
Nice.
2-2.
Patrick Bakaleni to score a last-minute equaliser.
Desmond.
You're going 2-2 as well?
Yeah.
I'm going to go 1-0 Dundalk.
Come on, the Penguin. On your boy.
I'm going to say we're going to get a nervy win. I think it's going to be a terrible match.
We'll take it. You'll take terrible matches at the end of the
Yeah.
season if they're all nervy wins. Absolutely.
Yeah, I'm going to say Big Sonny's going to get the goal.
Oof. If anybody wants to put a bet on that, there, let's take it from the Penguin fella.
Sonny 1-0.
It's an early kick-off. It's 4 o'clock. Is it on Sunday?
I'm not too sure, is it?
Could be wrong.
But
Is there
anyway, I
any
think,
away fans now? No away fans yet, is there?
I don't know. The regulations are different up north, aren't they? Or is it in Oriel? Is it in Oriel or is it? I don't know. I'm way with the ferries go.
No, I think they're in Derry.
I think
Yeah,
we
it's
all
Derry,
got caught up on
Derry
the
3 o'clock on Sunday.
the
Okay.
European one. Yeah.
So anyway, look, I think that'll wrap up the show for tonight, lads. We'll finish early. So thanks everybody for watching. Thanks to Gally and Chris for being on. Thanks for the special guest tonight, Steph McCavitt, for a special appearance.
Cameo.
Congrats to Bez McGuinness on winning the pizza. And look, we'll see everyone back on Sunday. Steph, now that you're back, we'll let you wrap it up, pal.
It's been a long time coming. No fats, no party.